Good morning, and welcome to the weekly multi-platform service of Tri-County Unitarian Universalists based in Summerfield, Florida. We acknowledge that we occupy the ancestral, traditional, and contemporary lands of the indigenous Florida peoples. I am Pat Felton, today's service leader, and we're glad to have our minister, Reverend Kristina Spaude, leading worship today. Hello to our members and friends, and a special welcome to those of you who might be visiting here for the first time. Unitarian Universalists are united not by a creed of shared beliefs, but by a covenant of shared values. We celebrate that we do not need to think alike to love alike. It is our respect and encouragement of each other's diversity of thought that truly binds us together. For the curious and for the seekers, Unitarian Universalist values and covenant may be found on our order of service and at our website, triuu.org. Our newsletter, included in the timetable, can also be found there under News and Events. We have announcements. Boy, do we have announcements. But first, please mute your phone or place it in airplane mode. Thank you. Today at 3, we welcome Trent Fury, an American singer-songwriter prominent in the women's music and folk music scene for over 50 years, who will be performing here. Tickets are $20 and will be available at the door. Please remember that next Tuesday, March 31st, is Transgender Day of Visibility. On this day, we recognize and honor our trans friends and recognize their contributions to society. If you have a spot reserved for a Passover setter, please be prompt. The setter is this Thursday beginning at 4 p.m. Remember that this will include a potluck and their suggested donation of $5 for supplies. Sally Mason will provide instruction and practice in her unique blend of Tai Chi and physical therapy. This will take place before the Masons head north again for the season on 2 Fridays, April 3 and April 10 at 11:30 to 12:15, hopefully outside under the portico, weather permitting. And it will be indoors if needed. Please see Sally if you have any questions. The April 9th forum is a launch party for our new website. Beginning at 4, Ken Pond, the website developer, will give us a tour of the new website and a step-by-step tutorial on how to use it. He'll also answer your questions. Instead of a potluck, please stay for the pizza party that follows. Yes, finally, this concludes our announcements. As we now begin the service proper, we will recite our mission statement. Please join with your voice as we recite together. We unite in religious community to seek spiritual growth, live with integrity, and serve with compassion. Our chalice leader today is Tom Murphy. We invite those of you joining us on Zoom to light your chalice at home.
Hospitality means the creation of space where the stranger can enter and become a friend rather than an enemy.
Let all who are hungry come and eat. Let all who are needy come and celebrate Passover. Passover begins soon. The first Passover, when God's proverbial hand moved across Egypt and wiped out firstborns of the Israelite enemies, allowing the Israelites to flee their oppressors, was not an invitation to hospitality. It was an invitation to a better life, one that was free, but also began with mostly empty hands. I suspect not many would have wanted to join those homeless former slaves, feasting, we might say, generously on unleavened bread. Strangers they had been in the land of Egypt. But the Seder is an occasion for hospitality, one born of having found one's way through the wilderness, through the difficulties. It's a celebration of all things, the good and the bad, because we have to honor all of it to understand the miracle of this moment. The Seder calls Jews to remember that it has not always been this way, that oppression has held them captive. But not only Jews, for we have all at times been held captive by oppressions, even those of our own making. The Seder honors the past and the future, names the terrors and the blessings, reminds all that the pendulum swings both ways. So to celebrate freedom by welcoming all to the table, because none of us is truly free until we are all free. Come, let us worship together. Please rise and lift your voice in song with me for our opening hymn, When Israel Was in Egypt's Land. Our story this morning, naturally, is Always Room for One More by Nick Lewis, which comes from Scotland. There was a wee house in the heather, 'twas a bit o' a but and a ben, and in it there all lived together, Lockie McLaughlin and his good wife, and his bairns to the number of 10. There's a fire on the hearthstone to warm me, and porridge to spare in the pot, said Lockie. The weather is stormy, so me and my wife and our 10 bairns will be sharing whatever we've got. So he hailed every traveler that passed by his door, said Lockie McLaughlin, there's room galore. Ach, come away in. There's always room. There's room for one more. Always room for one more. A tinker came first, then a tailor, and a sailor with a line and a lead. A gallows glass and a fishing lass with a creel o' fish on her head. A merry old wife full o' banter, 4 peat cutters up from the bog, piping Rory the ranter, and a shepherd laddie down from the brae with his canny wee shepherd dog. He hailed them all in as he stood at the door, said Lockie McLaughlin, there's room galore. Ach, come away in, there's room for one more, always room for one more. Rory's pipe set the rafters a-ringin', till the clock danced a reel on the shelf, and they all fell to dancing and singing, and a little dog danced by himself. Ugh, the walls they bulged out and bulged in then, the walls they bulged in and out. There will never be heard such a din then, as come from the folks in the wee little house while they rollicked and frolicked about. They filled all the house up from door to door, but Lockie cried out, there's room galore. 'Twould be a tight fit, but there's room for one more, always room for one more. Then the rafters, they clap it like thunder, and the folks in the nearby town stood stock still to listen and wonder when the wee little house with its butt and its ben and its walls and its roof dinged down. Then the tinker and the tailor and the sailor with line and lead, the gallows glass and the fishing lass with the creel o' fish on her head, the old wife full o' banter, the 4 peat cutters up from the bog, piping Rory the ranter, and shepherd laddie down from the brae with his kenny wee shepherd dog, and Lockie McLaughlin, his good wife, and his bairns to the number of 10, they all tumbled out again, and they gawked at the place where the house stood before. Ugh, Lockie, they cried, there was room galore, but worry and woe, there's no room no more, never no room no more. They wailed for a while in the heather, as glum as the grumpety grouse. Then they shouted, have done with this blether, for Lockie McLaughlin, his wife and his bairns, will raise up a bonny new house. The house that they raised from the old one was double as wide and as high. Should an army come by, it would hold one, with Lockie McLaughlin, his wife and his bairns, and whoever else happened by. And then the whole lot of them stood at the door and merrily shouted, there's room galore! Now there will always be room for one more. Always room for one more. Now, as we move deeper into our service, let us turn inward to consider transitions, the joys, sorrows, and concerns that we all experience in our life's journeys. There are 3 bowls of stones of different colors representing the gratitude of joy, the grief of sorrow, and whatever feelings you're having related to your concerns. After those present have placed stones in the water, our ushers will place stones in the water on behalf of those not present in the building and those who have chosen not to or who are unable to come forward. Those online are invited to type into the chat to express what is on your heart. When all the stones have been mingled in the water, we will take a moment for silent meditation or prayer. You may now come forward.
Drawings of the story were charming, weren't they?
Yeah.
Really cool.
You're back. How about that's good. It's nice to have a good long birthday celebration. Did you go to Atlanta?
Let us take a moment now to reflect on our own joys, concerns, and sorrows, and those of others in this beloved community. The chimes will bring us back into this space, and we will sing our responsive hymn this month, Find a Stillness. This, that was a test. This week we have a special addition to the service, a tree dedication in memory of the late Jerry Slosser, who passed away last summer. Jerry was an active part of this congregation's life for many years. He was immortalized earlier this year during our stewardship campaign as Jerry the Parrot. And now we have a living memorial to him in the form of a tree. Jerry loved trees, and so this is a wonderful way to honor not only his memory, but also his legacy here.
Jerry Slosser was definitely a Renaissance man. He was a brilliant man who could fix anything and helped organize the safety team and was chair of building and grounds for years. He was frequently on a ladder replacing lights and tiles and often had a mop and bucket scrubbing our floor here at TriUU. He loved to cook and bought the most delicious casseroles and desserts to potluck. He organized a Friday night game night and introduced us to pinochle, which he loved. He loved theater and performed in many plays, even bringing some of them here to TriUU for fundraisers like the Green Book. He was a writer and wrote his own life story for his grandchildren. He spent years writing and rewriting and revising the policies and procedures and operational manuals for TriUU and the bylaws. I know because I helped edit some revisions during COVID. We spent many hours of COVID on the phone at our computers, rephrasing, regrouping, and punctuating until it seemed right. We bonded over minutia and bylaws. Jerry was an artist and organized art lessons at TriUU for us and the community. The art group rented the building, and Jerry often displayed his art and sold and gave away pieces. I finally got one of his paintings at the yard sale. He loved nature and nursed a longleaf pine seedling until it was big enough to plant in Melody Acres behind the storage shed. It is huge now and provides food and support for the gopher turtles. And Liz and Sally have planted 2 more in honor of Jerry and to support the gopher turtles. And we hope you go to see all of those after the dedication. Jerry loved to tell stories which were funny or poignant, and he could talk for hours after choir, which he frequently did. He was never in a hurry. He was a kind, generous, and loving man, and I'm so glad I was able to call him a friend.
I have many dear memories about Jerry. I would like to mention a few of them today. As we heard last week from Marcia, Jerry loved the choir. He taught himself how to play an electric piano so he could read music and practice his part. He once purchased a DVD set which demonstrated how to prepare to sing and to read choral music. Some choir members participated in the series after regular choir practice. Unfortunately, we soon lost interest, but I think Jerry continued on his own at home. Jerry always strived to do his very best and took pride in his participation in the choir. Years ago, Al and I hosted an extra practice session. Jerry, Mike Donato, and Bob Kemp would come to our house on Saturday afternoons to rehearse the anthem that the choir was going to sing the following day. We would practice for about an hour and a half, or when the guys became more confident about the song. As you know, Jerry was a math teacher and had many, many stories about his teaching career. It's too bad that I wasn't in one of his classes. I might have learned how to multiply and divide fractions, which I still don't know how to do. Let's see. When I spoke at Jerry's Celebration of Life, I mentioned a classic story about problem solving. I was once invited to have dinner with Jerry at his home. I noticed a clock hung very high up on the wall near the kitchen and asked him how he hung it. Well, Jerry's daughter was adamant that he never, ever get up on a ladder again. Well, Jerry had to figure out how to hang the clock. while remaining safe. He decided to place several pillows all over the floor, underneath and beneath the ladder. Thankfully, he did not fall, and the clock looked just right. That sounds like Jerry, doesn't it?
When it blossoms, the tree will be bright and have heart-shaped leaves, a bit like Jerry was for many of us. When you pass it, coming and going from this space, may you offer a thought or prayer for the continuation of this faith and this congregation and its vibrance. May you be reminded to welcome everyone and send them with good wishes as they leave. And may its beauty offer your heart a brief respite from the difficulties of the world. And when you go to leave, the tree is just outside the doors that way. All right. Yep.
Bill Nelson will tell us about today's Fifth Sunday recipient, Shepherd's Lighthouse.
Good morning. Am I loud enough? Because I can't tell. You're going to learn two things about me real quick. Is one, I'm not a public speaker, and two, I have a bad memory. So I'd like to talk to you this morning about Shepherd's Lighthouse. It's here in Bellevue, Florida. It's been around for 25 years, giving guidance and a ray of hope to mothers and children that are homeless. It does this by bringing the women in, giving them a safe place for themselves and their children, providing them with the tools they need to become self-sufficient. You know, it's hard to imagine being homeless just by ourselves, but imagine with a baby or a young child. And if you have no experience in life, you don't know how to balance a checkbook, you don't have a job. I mean, it's got to be rough. And I think it's great that there is an organization you can turn to that gets you on the right path to become self-sufficient. There's counseling provided, shelter, education, guidance, telling you where to go, possibly to get additional help. It's a full-service organization run by a wonderful woman who started this 25 years ago on her own. And today she's still hanging in there as president, chairman of the board. And through this 25 years, there's been over 1,000 women and children gone through this program. They're off the streets, out of the woods, into housing. And we're looking at an 83% success rate after all of these years. Last month, several of us, my wife and Ann, who also goes to church here, were lucky enough to be introduced to the very first woman and her daughter that went through the program. The daughter is now in her 20s, and they're doing great. And it's very fulfilling to see the end product. The second thing, besides the Shepherd's Lighthouse goal that I would like to mention is your generosity, your friendship. It's meant a lot to me and Brenda. Every week we come here and People are smiling at us, especially Liz, but we feel at home here. And I was very happy when Joyce asked me to speak. She didn't tell me I had to say a lot. She said 2 minutes would be sufficient, so I'm going to keep it short. But as a sideline, I'm leaving some brochures in the back in the center table and business cards. If by any chance you think you have a talent or a desire to contribute to the Shepherd's Lighthouse, they do fund themselves without government support. It's all through donations, churches, civic groups, individuals, and they have their own thrift store. Several people here have stopped me in the parking lot or brought things in for me to bring in there, and I appreciate that. Also, you had a very successful sale last month here in this very room. And you may have noticed there were some things that went unsold. Well, Shepherd's Lighthouse was very glad that you donated, or that they received from you your leftovers, because they were able to generate some money out of it. And I'd like to thank Dale for helping me move 2 trailer loads of that stuff. He was very generous of Dale. Also, on an aside, this congregation, I love your community. And many of us have found joy in going to your dinners, and many of you have invited us to your homes for dinner. But I would also like to mention that there's people that enjoy doing outside stuff in this congregation, and we've been getting together doing things such as camping and going to concerts together. A young lady came up last week and wanted to know if we did hiking, and we don't, but we might. So if by chance you have an interest in doing outside things with good people like yourselves, Deb Anderson is a good person to speak to, and Aaron. There's quite a few people here that are involved, Liz and Sally and Sandy and Marcia. So maybe ask about that also. But thanks again. Shepherd's Lighthouse appreciates what you've done, and we hope that some of you will take an interest in it. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. We will now receive today's special offering for Shepherd's Lighthouse. If you are visiting us for the first time, please do not feel obligated to give. You are our guest, and we are happy to have you here with us today. This is the time in our service when those who wish to make some monetary contribution to our congregation's vision and mission give to support this community and its outreach. If you'd like your check credited to Shepherd's Lighthouse, please write Fifth Sunday on the memo line so we can record it properly. I invite the ushers to come forward.
Before I get into the sermon, I was asked to announce or remind y'all, if you missed it during the announcements, that March 31st, this Tuesday, is Transgender Day of Visibility. Transgender Day of Remembrance, November 20th, has been observed since 1999. It's an important day to remember so many transkin who have died, been murdered, as we continue to fight for justice and equality. But no one wants to be lifted up once a year as the victim of violence. And so the Transgender Day of Visibility was started in 2009. To my trans kith and kin, you know I always see you in your wholeness. To all our trans kith and kin, we see you in your wholeness, and we are so glad you're here. Now, when I was in seminary, I was taking a class that required me to attend an event of another faith. Worship services were the most common choice, but it could be anything, a service or a ceremony. I had settled into one option, but on a whim asked on Facebook if there was anything in particular that I might want to check out. A Lakota man I know, a member of an area UU congregation, said that he was going to be performing an adoption ceremony in a couple of weeks, and I was welcome to attend. He was actually a little nervous about it because he had to sort of create it himself, drawing from a lot of elder wisdom. The ceremony was a mid-June day, and when I arrived, I was welcomed into the house. There was a smattering of people hanging around outside, leading up the walkway in. I explained to someone that I had been invited by Bruce and was thanked for coming as if I was an expected guest and belonged. In anticipation of the ceremony, I had bought tobacco and I gave this to someone. People introduced themselves, offered drinks, said where the bathroom was. Essentially, everyone there that day was Indigenous, other than the young man to be adopted's girlfriend and some of his family who were present and me. It was a First Nations community formed of Lakota, Winnebago, Dakota, Onondaga, and other displaced Indigenous peoples to celebrate and share community together, practicing and honoring their ways. My experience that day as someone so very clearly an outsider to their cultures, their heritages, to their community, to the family, was also one of true welcome and hospitality. I wasn't left alone with no one to talk with. I was brought into conversations quickly, conversations about their work lives, their family lives, about traveling to visit relatives on reservations, and never once felt like I didn't belong. Everyone was a participant in the adoption ceremony, a young, white-appearing man who had been exploring and learning about his Indigenous heritage, being adopted by a Lakota woman who had become like a second mother to him. Everyone received gifts. We all shared the food people had brought, including many traditional foods, and we celebrated this beautiful event together. I was struck afterward not only by the ceremony, but obviously by the welcome and hospitality. It was an unexpected gift. The power dynamics of my whiteness and absolute stranger status were of no concern. I was their guest, and I was welcome. Not even welcome, I belonged. Their hospitality was in no way pressured. It was seamless and natural. For years, I've heard about the fragile art of hospitality, and what I've realized is that hospitality is not such a fragile art, unless we're concerned perhaps with disrupting sociocultural norms or the way we do things here. Hospitality should be about welcome and invitation, a joyful and abundant art and practice. Hospitality is grounded on generosity and love, sharing what we have with others. And it's not just about generosity of things, of food, gifts, other material goods. Hospitality is equally grounded, if not more so, on generosity of spirit, of intention and openness and presence. We may have the best coffee hour in the state, but I can assure you that no one will return to it if we don't fill their cups with the spirit of our shared faith. This is one mistake I think our congregations can make, that we begin to treat our congregations like they're our homes. While our congregation is our spiritual home, it is not our home. Our congregations are comfortable places for us, safe places for us, a respite from the world, but they are a place where our lives intersect in public. Congregations are places of changing faces, people coming, people going, people visiting, people staying. This congregation knows better than some others that's with snowbirds and other travelers dropping in and out all throughout the year. Sister Joan Chittister writes that this is also true for the Benedictines and offers insight from a spiritual perspective. She writes, "Without the guest, we make the community life all about us alone. Guests bring the world in, place it at our feet, and dare us to be who and what we say we are." Who and what do we say about who we are? I don't know if you remember the first time you came to church, but it's often a big deal for people. It may take months to work up the courage to enter a space. What are the ways we honor newcomers' experiences of coming here? A few years ago, I read The Art of Gathering by Priya Parker. In it, she observes that most event hosts consider the moment the program begins to be the moment when hosting starts. But Parker argues that the moment of invitation is the actual beginning, and therefore, when hosting needs to begin. Among the first questions she asks of any client or anyone who asks for advice from her about gatherings is what she calls the Passover principle. How is this event different from any other? This is a tricky thing to navigate in a church because we do this every week, not every year. Some people do it every year, but that's a different story. But I love the idea of wondering what makes church different from other spaces in our lives, and how can we celebrate that and lift it up? In Parker's book, she tells stories of many events that she's hosted or has attended or knows of. One that caught my attention was the Dîner en Blanc, an event that started in Paris in 1988 when a wealthy entrepreneur returned to the continent after a couple of years living abroad. There wasn't enough room in his apartment for everyone he wanted to invite, and he decided to think creatively about how to invite everyone and create a community. The event was so popular that it has spread across the world, with thousands of people participating in events in host cities. There are lots of rules. You can only wear white head to toe. You have to bring your own table, chairs, picnic basket, tablecloth, napkins, the nice ones, fine china, silverware, glassware, and any elements of beauty, all in white. Your own meal, homemade and fine dining. We're not stopping on the way to McDonald's for this one. Drinks, only water, white wine, or champagne, and dessert. You must bring a guest. You must remain seated until the dinner is over, and more. Now, people also pay to attend this event and do all of this work. After the dinner and dessert, there's usually some kind of entertainment provided before the evening closes and all elements of the event disappear with the people who brought them. What is striking about this is the incredible level of investment of the people who attend. Some people can spend hundreds, if not thousands of dollars buying the necessary clothing and accessories, the food, table, and chairs, and there are more rules that I didn't even get into. Why? Because it's a chance to celebrate something remarkable. The dining venue is not disclosed in advance, but instead there are meeting points and people are then shuttled to the actual spot. It's often a place where people are not usually able to eat, and certainly not on this scale. But the people who participate find it to be the kind of thing they want to prepare for and celebrate all year long. And they bring all of that excitement with them into the space. I'm sure the venues are spectacular, but what really makes the whole thing special is the joy and energy that people bring with them. Many of them are primed for the event over the course of months. They are ushered into the experience with fanfare and joy. They are strangers and make an event happen that is to be envied. Good hosting and good hospitality are about giving our attention to the invitation. With a church, that can come from a first encounter with a website, with a protest, with a weekly coffee, with a Facebook post, or who knows what else. Parker's whole book still has me wondering about how I and we could apply what she shares in this setting. What if we assume that everyone is making this level of effort to come into our community? Are we matching the level of enthusiasm and excitement they have? Who do we say we are? I know that Florida is an incredibly difficult place to live, and we think of this church as a haven, and it is, a sanctuary from that. But this can make us more inward looking in many ways, and so it is something that we should watch for. There's a blog post I've seen where a couple who attends church regularly says they treat any newcomer alone as an emergency, taking priority over friendships and church business. They aren't saying rush the person and overwhelm them, but treat them as a priority from a place of love. Treat them as a priority from a place of joy for our faith. Treat their entry into our sanctuary as if they have the most precious gift to offer us. We UUs believe that each person holds keys to knowing and understanding deeply about love and all the wonders and mysteries of living. Perhaps we can learn to offer that as the main dish at our gatherings. May we all be so filled with the gifts of this faith that we pour it into each other's cups. If you would please rise and lift your voice in song with me for our closing hymn, we are going to sit at the welcome table.
Extinguishing message.
There is a radiation from the heart in a genuine hospitality, which cannot be described, but is immediately felt and puts the stranger at once in his or her ease.
I invite anyone who has just begun to visit with us and who wishes to do so to introduce themselves. Please raise your hand and an usher will bring a microphone to you. Please keep the microphone close to your mouth so we can hear you better. I'm not seeing anyone. If you are a newcomer and you'd like to receive regular communications on upcoming Tri-UU events, please, excuse me, please take and fill out a guest card which will be available at the door after the service. On April 28th, there will be a class for those wanting to know more about Tri-UU. Please sign up at the table in the back of the room. We normally ask for reflections on the sermon, but today, because we had such a great abundance of announcements and dedications and other wonderful things, we won't be able to do that today. But we do have a farewell. Oh, excuse me. We need a benediction and then we'll have a farewell.
Our closing words today come from Rebecca Savage. Blessings shall follow us. As we end our time together today in spiritual community, may we depart this sacred space, knowing that blessings shall follow us all the days of our lives. If we live in and return to right relationships, if we extend grace and forgiveness to ourselves and others, if we behold mercy as a spiritual superpower, if we emanate the greater love that holds us close, may our lives radiate the blessings that we have been given. May kindness and compassion fall gently from us. May there be peace in the world, and may it begin again with us.
So I have the honor and the challenge to do it. The blue mic. Okay, I have the, I've been requested and gladly take this opportunity to bid farewell to Jan. So Jan, if you want to join us whenever you're comfortable. Jan's become a dear friend of mine and a mentor in many, many things. But today, right now, this is from the congregation and in particular from the membership team, which Jan has served on. If you want to be on TV so people on Zoom can see you, because it's important that Jan be seen because some of our members see her mostly on Zoom, which I'll get into. So Jan is a snowbird. She's an associate member, which means she shares her UU commitment between two congregations, her home one in Springfield and our here, which, thank God. Anyway, Jan comes from a background of serving in the Peace Corps, both as a volunteer and then as full-time for a number of years. So she's traveled the world, met many people, and has enriched us all with her vast experiences and insight into other cultures and territories. She is a seasonal resident, spending more than half of the year in Springfield, Illinois, which is her home congregation. Jan's a long, long time UU. I don't know really. 40 years. 40 years. And 14 years here. And that was one of the important things when she decided to become a snowbird in Florida, was that there would be a UU congregation nearby. So with that background, Jan has enriched us all, serving 3 different interns during their final training of becoming a minister. And she continues to keep in touch with all 3 of those now full-time ministers, who I know are grateful for her particular contributions in their education. Jan's very involved since her first day, I think, serving for a good many years as membership chair. Even during the summer, when we got techie enough to have Snipe, remember Snipe? Skype. She helped us have Skype meetings. We would meet here in Jan from Springfield, and she would conduct our meetings, which were always fabulously run, well organized, prompt, keeping agendas that you could follow. Fabulous. Then when COVID came and Zoom, we continued to meet with our membership meeting via Zoom, even if we were local. And also Jan was part, do you remember during Zoom, we had, I think it was 5 days a week during COVID, of Zoom meetings and gatherings, social. We played bingo over Zoom, and Jan, honestly, and it was great fun. And of course our meetings continue, anyway, COVID and Zoom, there's so much, but bingo was great. Oh, but the main thing that Jan did over Zoom was the news group. You've heard about the Tuesday 4 o'clock newsroom. That has been going on for 7 years, faithfully, every Tuesday at 4 o'clock, and it's wonderful. So we can still see Jan, because she's going to continue hosting that on Tuesdays 4. So I know I'll be there. So there's more, but time, I know. So we have this token farewell piece of our heart. And so Jan, that's for you from everyone, but especially from our membership team, which you led so beautifully. And a little card, and Jan would like to say.
Well, I was worried when she said a gift, because, when you're packing up your house forever and ever, and I'm like, oh my God, where am I going to put this? But this will be good. Thank you all for your wonderful hospitality since I arrived here 14 years ago. As Andrea said, I didn't buy a house until I knew there was going to be a UU congregation close by. So I've had so much fun with all of you. Some of you I know better than others, but I treasure your faces, and please come on Tuesdays if you want to hear me blather on about, world events and whatever. But thank you all for welcoming me and giving me a safe place to be myself. And Andrea's convinced me I should come and visit next winter, so. And my poor 10-year-old grandson was just heartbroken. He was looking forward to the day where he could zoom around on my golf cart. So I've kind of promised him I'd make a visit here in the future so he could have his golf cart experience that he was mourning. But thank you all very much.
fellowship in the back of the room until 11. If you want a bit more to eat and more time to visit, there is a sign-up sheet on the table near the bookshelves to coordinate with others who would like to go out for brunch. We share our minister with our sibling congregation in Eustis, where she will lead a second service. Reverend Kristina will be here till 10:20-ish, so yeah, about 7 more minutes. For those who'd like to talk with her, come by and say hi. The Zoom room will stay open for 20 minutes.